Music Podcasts.
Hello, welcome to Learn Kenyan Law with Wanjiku. I'm your host, Wanjiku Mwangi. And for today, the theme of the show is about the laws in Kenya, electoral laws in Kenya. And before we get into it, Wycliffe, karibu.
Yeah, welcome back, Maze. It was nice. Last week we were here to talk about issue of youth in election. And today we brought again our amazing guest. This man is, last time he was here, he talked about a lot of stuff, and we thought it was really, really good to bring him back to the episode. So welcome again.
Thank you so much. Last week's show was awesome. Glad to be back here again. My name is Buluma, a student at the Kenya School of Law. I actively participate in politics, youth governance. I try and bring the youths to the political side of life. I am passionate about it. I write papers about it. I'm looking forward to a massive and wonderful show like last week's and interaction from the listeners too. Thank you.
So welcome. So today, what do you have in store for us?
For today, we're specifically delving into the laws. And again, it's important for people to be governed with the law because, as they say, when we lack the law, we lack freedom.
Indeed.
So we are focusing on which election laws do we have here in Kenya.
There's so many, by the way.
Yeah, and we're going to start off with the Constitution because, the rule of this show is that Constitution is like our Bible.
The grand norm.
Yeah, so which kind of laws does the Constitution provide for us in terms of elections?
Yeah, so in matter of the laws and everything, we love to welcome our guest because he has much vast into that. Yeah. And being the area of interest that I really like, so maybe, when you come to elections, yes, because policies are really, really important. And Wanjiku said we say the Constitution. So which are these laws that are really, really important, which we need to know as a citizen going to election? Which these laws, can you tell us more about them?
First of all, we have political rights under the Kenyan Bill of Rights, Article 38 of the Constitution of Kenya, that provides that each and every citizen has a right to vie as a candidate.
Indeed, yeah.
In any election, to vote, universal suffrage, secret ballot, and to register as a voter in the Republic of Kenya. Each and every citizen is also entitled to free, fair and regular elections. Elections in this country are held after every 5 years.
Indeed, and it's crazy how things are done.
I think the drafters of the Constitution did not want to just say that we're entitled to free and fair elections because the president or the government can just decide, we'll be doing elections after 10 years. So these elections, 20. So these elections have to be regular.
Yeah.
Free, fair and regular. We also have articles like Article 81, Article 88, Chapter 7 that talks about the elections, talks about the IEBC and how to conduct principles of elections and what have you.
Yeah. Okay, going to that now, like Wanjiku. So if I can ask you a question, do you think it is important for you to vote? Is it a must?
Yes, it is important for me to vote, but it is not a must. I also have the right to choose whether or not I want to go to vote or not. The same way I have the right to free and fair election. As a voter, you can decide today I won't vote, and no one is going to.
So you can just talk and like, I don't feel like going to this, doing all this stuff.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you've talked about Article 38 and Chapter 7 of the Constitution. Yes. Because as we know from Chapter 7 of the Constitution, it's really vocal on how the process of even registration of a voter. Yeah. Because, you just can't wake up on August 9th and decide that you want to go and vote and you've not registered
as a voter.
Yeah, so that is also an important thing to another important factor to consider. And it also outlines on at what instances are you allowed to vote and when are you not even allowed to vote. If you're of an unsound mind, of course it's not prudent for you to vote. You have to be an adult for you to also participate in the voting process as well.
When it comes to voting, it was crazy because I remember the last election, people, the older people are being removed from their bedside to come and vote.
As you've said, it is a civic duty. It is not, no one will put a gun to your head, or there won't be any sanctions.
Yeah.
People really
if
voted,
you do not
I
vote.
remember.
Yeah, but it is a civic duty. It is prudent. It is behooved of all of us, especially us, the youths who are majority, to make sure that on August 9th we wake up, or even if we'll go and vote in the afternoon, we actually go and vote. Yeah, so Article 81 talks about principles of elections.
Yeah, can you explain more? What are these principles? Because people really want to hear them now.
We have the universal suffrage. That means that elections will be conducted, quote unquote, en masse, as in every vote will count and everyone is supposed to go and vote.
Indeed, yeah.
We have rules of fair representation. We have the 2/3 gender realm.
Exactly.
Yeah, that talks about, it brought about
that's
a lot
bigger
of
issue. I remember even David Maraga almost said the parliament should be dissolved because of that.
Yeah, because you remember there was that advisory opinion that was given by
the Supreme Court,
CJ Emeritus, Dr. Mutunga.
Exactly.
That was the first one. Now the second one talked about is the one you're talking about by Maraga. Yeah, but now you look at it in this way. Yeah. Actualizing this is so hard unless we do it in terms of nominations, because it talks about the composition of parliament. Because it's so hard to force people to vote for women, because the whole idea of
I know
suffrage.
Wanjiku is giving a face. Will come to you.
I'm just like...
Oh, okay, no, let me not say that. I'm sorry, Wanjiku.
Because sometimes we need... the thing Kenyan men don't understand with this 2/3
It's not even Kenyan
is
men.
that it does not only affect women. There is one day, one time.
And we are... What I'm sorry to say this, but if it is an election for posts that people are appointed, constitutional offices, it's fine if we actualize that. But in terms of elections and in terms of politics, actualizing the 2/3 gender rule is a bit hard.
Politics is different.
You cannot tell people to...
I feel like
cannot
it is
segregate some
It
constituencies
is
for males only or for females only.
It is
okay,
hard.
the only thing that makes me say that it is hard because of one reason.
Why?
Society has decided that it is going to be hard for women to participate in politics. And when I'm saying this, I mean that from the point of, personally as a woman, if I want to be elected into an electoral post, there's some challenges that I will face as a woman that you as a man might not even go through it. And those people who are even making women have a really hard time in elections are our men. Are the ones who are making it hard. And for me, the logic of not letting women lead and the logic of society not voting for women beats me. And the reason for this is because you as a man, you've been raised up by a woman. A woman made these choices that are making you who you are today. So I'm asking a question of, if a woman is able to feed you, to even nurse you for 9 months and get you to that point that you're even going to be elected, why then is it that we have an issue with enabling women?
Don't get too emotional.
Yeah.
Don't get too emotional.
Conversation. It's turning red.
I am not emotional. I am not emotional. I'm just...
I think we can drink some water.
We have talked about you are entitled, you have a right to a free, fair and regular election. Free in the sense that you are not supposed to be told a certain constituency vote for male or a female. Okay.
True.
So for appointment offices, constitutional offices, in terms of employment, we can actualize the 2/3 gender rule. But for elective positions, it is a little bit hard.
Why?
On both senses.
Why?
Because let's say you and I are vying for the same position, right? We cannot force people to vote for you because you're a woman just to actualize this
gender role.
Yeah, you now get
because
agree.
It is based on merit. It is based on merit.
So are you trying to say that according to?
But we're electing.
It is just my point of view because I'll just give an example of what we have right now because we are having a perspective of because one thing most of the women are raising is we don't want nomination anymore. We want to be in the same position.
Which is what they should, because it's unfair if a woman does not get that position rightfully.
And one thing I understand that one thing it is, when you come to issue of gender, it is something which is progressive. We need to understand. Yeah, there is, it's not called injustice when it comes to women. And that's the reality. We can't go away from that.
Yeah. So I like the way we are doing it. We're electing more women. But we should not be forced to elect more women just to actualize this and lose the value of, or elect more men only and lose the whole value of electing good leaders during the electioneering period just to actualize the 2/3 gender rule.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what the both of you are saying, and I'm sure there are times you're making a statement, and I'm just like, I'm giving you that space of like,
that's why you're having a conversation. That's a conversation. Because I'll give an example. Because when Martha Karua stood out to be, later to be the deputy to Raila, people were so excited and everything.
Yes.
And one thing, there's a quote: "The enemy of women are women themselves." Sometimes they say that, and that's they say that, and sometimes that statement has been proven to be true, because when it comes
sometimes I feel like that statement is used by men
even right now
to sorry, let me just cut you short. I feel like that statement of saying that women are their own enemies is used by men so that we can still continue this narrative.
I was coming to my point. My point, I was using the example. I haven't finished. My point was like, when it comes to Martha Karua, there's some people back in the UDA. They're like, you know what? You just brought mamas, you and Baba and mother to just pull the gender card, and that is crazy. Because Martha Karua was elected on merit, because her record stands out and everything. And other women on side of UDA are like, sijui, forget about Martha Karua, all those stuff, and that thing was really, really making me angry, because Martha Karua fought for, I think, him, kina Charity Ngilu, kina Waiguru, those people have really fought to be where they are. And for some women to be used by other men, as you alleged, to bring the issue of just using, because the issue is that Martha is a gender card played by Azimio. And that thing is because Martha on the spot, because she has been there. I
agree with what you're saying, and we have really seen the journey of Martha Karua. We have seen how she has had to fight in politics, literally.
Yeah.
And I'm really wondering sometimes, is it that this political environment is not conducive for women because of men are making it seem like so?
Because right now there is a forum to make sure that Martha Karua does not become the deputy president, and this forum
that is already being planned even before.
Yeah, and this forum, it pains me to see most of the women are the one who are in there.
But the men are also taking a part of it. But this discussion we cannot
it can't
finish.
But what I'll just tell the listeners is that democracy forms part of the principles of our land
of governance itself.
10. And the whole aspect of democracy is the freedom to vote for whoever you want.
Yeah.
So I will also not have an issue in the next 10 years if 3/4 of parliament is female, because I know that is what the Kenyans wanted. Okay,
and that's what we want to go.
But for appointing offices where guys are appointed, constitutional offices, we have to implement that. So going back to Article 81, we have the issue of free and fair elections, devoid of violence, elections that are transparent. These elections have to be through a secret ballot, and they have to be done through an impartial and neutral body, the Electoral Management Body, that is the IEBC, and we look at it under Article 88 that establishes the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. We have a very progressive constitution that sets the foundation for the electoral laws in Kenya. If we look at Article 88, the functions of IEBC 88.4, which are regurgitated in Section 4 of the IEBC Act, we have things like delimitation, voter education, accrediting observers and electoral monitors, among other things, applying technology, dispute resolution, which they do, especially we've seen it through after the nominations recently.
Indeed.
A lot of disputes are brought about, and they had to determine these disputes to determine who is going to be on the ballot.
Indeed.
Registering and revision of the voter register, among other things.
Yeah.
So our constitution really tries to lay the proper foundation for the electoral laws. And as we said last week, an election is a whole process.
Indeed, yeah.
You need to stop thinking of an election as voting. Voting is on that day. But the electoral process starts when you're going to get registered, when they close the registration period, when they open the revision of the voter register period, when they close that, when they open the official campaign period, when they close that, the voting day, the tabulation of the results, the relaying of the results, announcement of the results.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you've really focused your attention on Chapter 7, and specifically Article 86 is talking about the voting method that is supposed to be conducted by the Commission.
Yes.
And we're saying that the voting method should be simple and it should be accurate and verifiable. And as we remember, that was also an issue that we had during the 2017
presidential election petition.
Yes, and they're also talking about the fact that the results from the polling stations should be openly and accurately collated, meaning they're announced by specific people depending on the kind of positions. And we also saw the issue of, different people that are not supposed to even probably announce the results, announcing these results.
Yes.
And still, when we're talking about voting, if I can remember correctly, the IEBC officials having the security aspect of it, meaning that they are not going and telling people unnecessarily, especially if they are not mandated to do it.
Yes.
So as you're saying, the Constitution is really well outlined, because we've seen that we have political rights. You can wake up and vote. You can decide not to vote at the same time. You can even decide to contest. You can decide to, if you are not in agreement with these specific results, you can go to a court of law. There is also the aspect of registration. So let's get done with the Constitution and probably now go to the next kind of acts that we have.
Before we even move away from that, because we can't go away from the Constitution without talking about the Chapter 6 of the leadership and integrity, and this has been an issue. And one can say you can't talk about Chapter 6 without bringing the judgment of Justice Ngugi, that made Waititu go home, Sonko and the governor of Marsabit. And so when you come to that perspective, Chapter 6 and everything, do you think because people have been saying Chapter 6 is inactive because it was brought to life until that judgment of Justice Ngugi. Because and we're seeing that perspective, leadership and integrity, because it started from the issue of Sonko, because High Court yesterday cleared Sonko. Cleared Sonko to run. The issue of Sakaja, integrity, because the law says that you need to have qualifications.
Yes, I hear what you're saying, and unfortunately, most of the parliamentarians that we have, when it comes to matters integrity, it is highly questionable. And again, we've said our Constitution is very clear on some of these things. Chapter 6, as you're saying, and I need us to mention the fact that Chapter 6 is not only applicable to parliamentarians. Chapter 6 is applicable to you working in the office. Yes. Any leader is supposed to be guided by Chapter 6. And it talks about what are the kind of responsibilities that a leader has. It outlines it very clearly. Talks about taking of oath, things to do with finances, the kind of restriction that a state officer should be involved in.
Indeed,
because once a state officer is involved in some of these activities, that is where we find that we have corruption. Chapter 6 is also very clear on citizenship and leadership. And of course, the legislation on the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Act is enabled because of Chapter 6. And you see, this is another conversation that we should definitely have in terms of, is this Anti-Corruption Commission really conducting its work?
Coming to that, I would love to pose this to Mr. Nico. So, could advice, because there's been this thing I've really been eating Kenyans and our viewers maybe. The aspect of institutions, because because this institution are given mandate through the Constitution itself.
Institution
like Anti-Corruption Commission, the institution like IEBC,
Yes.
the institution like DCI, DPP, because they work together and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So do you think there is a mismatch? Because
ideally they're supposed to work together, but we see sometimes they try and eat each other.
Yeah.
They try and overlap their roles. A few weeks ago, Twalib Mbarak, the CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption
and he came so
Commission,
out because people are abusing him.
came out and stated that, hey, these guys are not fit to run for office.
Yeah.
But now look at what the Electoral Commission did. They actually cleared the same people.
Yeah.
We've looked at the issue of Johnson Sakaja, who has been telling us that he graduated from UON. It's a whole quagmire of issues. There are a lot of issues we need to streamline, and I hope the next government that's coming in will try and make sure that these institutions work to complement each other, especially right now during the elections. Because if the DCI says that, fails to give you clearance,
That's it.
I do not see
you won't
why
move to the next level.
You're not supposed to
Shouldn't.
be on the ballot paper. I do not understand why a lot of leaders, impeached leaders, are also on the ballot, are being cleared. I do not understand. It fails. It beats the logic, the whole logic of Chapter 6.
Yeah,
of the
and
Constitution.
when you come to that, because we're arguing with my colleague, and we're doing research on this. Do you think Chebukati clearance of Sakaja is setting a bad precedent? This is because I'm thinking like Nairobi will not function after election. This is why, because if he got there, let's say he lost and got to court. Because the way Nico said, election is a process. If he lost, he can go to court under challenge.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the challenge will be like the grounder. During the time Sakaja was being cleared, he was cleared by IEBC. IEBC has not that mandate. That mandate was given. That mandate is under Council of Legal Education. No, Council of University of Education.
Yeah.
Verification of the degree.
The team university itself hasn't given anything. So that means he's running on a bad foot itself.
Yeah.
And this will give a precedent, because if the IBC clears Sakaja to run and they win,
They better be ready to clear the next people.
because next people and everything, and that's the talking about.
And normally Nairobi is the hub of Kenya.
Yes.
So I am wondering if we're really having leaders who are really questionable in Nairobi. This already is a reflection of the kind of leaders that we're having
Indeed.
in other counties.
Because my issue is that precedent is set by the IBC will harm. Because one thing, if you allow this person who's not qualified to run and win, that means the entire process itself is null and void.
Yeah,
that's true. You look at it also in the aspect that a challenge was taken. The decision was challenged in court, and the court also last week allowed Sakaja, Sonko to be able to vie for elections. So that's why I'm saying these institutions really need to work in tandem. We're not trying to have prejudicial stances, but the evidence also that's taken to court, the issues
Must
that
be
you're
clear.
must be clear, and you really have to have a case for yourself to be able to substantiate this. But it comes back to us as a citizen.
That is exactly
Listen
what
to
I
what
wanted me to say,
Twalib
yeah.
Mbarak said.
Yeah.
Vote for someone you know is clean. I have given you the names of people who have issues. If you want to vote for them,
It's okay.
It's fine. You will cry. It's up to you to, because you look at people like Waiguru since 2017. She has economic crimes cases. You look at someone like Sospito Jamong, the county governor of
And
Busia.
it really becomes
You look at, there are a lot.
The list is long, and those are the only ones that have been caught.
Yeah,
So ask
imagine
yourselves,
the
what-
ones who've not been caught.
They are many, and I'm going to go back to that point that we've said. Article 38 is giving you the political rights. So fine, this person has integrity issues. Please choose not to vote for them.
Do
Now
not
that you
fail
have
to
a
vote.
choice.
Go and vote for a clean person.
because like some of there was this scholar, I was like keeping it in this perspective. When someone is allowed to clear to run for an election, an official election in an application that is allowed by the law, it give an example of at least both of us understand the law. It's the aspect of locus standi that are it's like jurisdiction. A court can't, yes, Sakaja has jurisdiction to run. Maybe there's people to run for office, but do they have the locus standi? Not the locus standi is the degree. If the court assume the locus standi, goes on listen to the case and award, give award in that case. That in terms is unclean, and that's why when you come to the IBC and the issue of interaction with these organs, because they really play a major implementation.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that we really have here right now.
I like the fact that you've mentioned IEBC, and I feel like now the next discussion that we should definitely be having is about the IEBC Act. What does it provide in terms of the commission itself?
Yeah.
Okay, so Article 88 establishes the Electoral Management Board, that is the IEBC. You look at it this way. Kenya is both a majoritarian system in terms of elections.
Yeah.
We ascribe to two. First past the post. That's the person with the most majority, simple majority, wins. And then we have the aspect of meeting a certain threshold that is only seen in the presidential elections, whereby you have to meet that 50+1 mark of initially, a simple majority would have won you elections as a president.
Yeah.
But we go back to the dark days in 2007, 2008, and we decided that for issues of legitimacy, each and every a presidential candidate to win has to have 50+1
majority, indeed.
50% plus one vote of the votes, valid votes, cast.
Yeah.
So the IEBC Act gives the roles of the IEBC, how the commissioners are supposed to be brought about.
Yeah, to be elected into office.
To be vetted.
Yeah.
There are issues like right now, I can give a vivid example. The current commissioners' terms are almost ending. Ideally, if you look at the first schedule of the IEBC Act, it says that 6 months before their term ends, interviews have to be conducted to choose the next lot that is coming in, just to make sure that there is a smooth transition. There is no void in terms of office. The Article 251 of the Constitution talks about removal of people from of the commissioners
from the office,
or guys in constitutional offices from these offices. If there is issues of violations of the Constitution, violations of rights, and other aspects, a commissioner may be removed from office. So you do not have that liberty to do whatever you want. You do not have the prerogative to choose to follow the Constitution or not. And that's why you have seen a lot of times the commissioners are brought under the heat. They're put into the fire directly.
Exactly.
You look at Kina Roslyn Akombe. They were forced to,
and she had to resign,
because she knew that it's getting hot. Chebukati was also under fire. People like Chiloba last time, but Chiloba now falls in the, because if you look at the IBC, we have the commissioners and we have the secretariat.
And also have the staffs that support them. So
the secretariat is the one that deals with the day-to-day activities. The commissioners are like the decision makers. We have 6 commissioners. The chair of the commissioner should be a person qualified to be a judge of the Supreme Court. They have similar qualifications. So in short, in order to be able to become the chair of the commission, you have to have practiced law for 15 years, be an academician, legal academician for 15 years, and other qualifications that befit a judge of the Supreme Court. Your term is 6 years for the commissioners, and it is non-renewable. The secretary to the commission deals with the payment, the nitty-gritties. That's what I'm saying. Now the secretariat part is the one that will deal with the payments of staff, recruitment of staff, and what have you. So that's how IBC tries to come in and structurally and blend with the elections. You have to remember that they do not only work during the
election
period.
The election year. Yeah, they work throughout. One thing people keep on forgetting is that you are supposed to register as a voter anytime. Just not 60 days to the elections or when the period for registering is declared closed by the IEBC. Because I realized most youths think that you can only register when IEBC opens the mass voter registration period. No. You are able to vote like after this election, because right now the window is closed. After the August election, you will be able to register as a voter through and through, unless there's a by-election or something. Yeah. So I think
another thing that I'd probably like to talk about, you've spoken about the chair of the commission.
Yes.
We now the secretariat of the commission also, some of the qualifications that you need to have is that you need to be conversant with election matters.
Yes.
You need to be good with management, things like finance, things like governance, of course. Yeah. And another important thing is that when it comes to public administration, that is also something that you need to be versant with, and also laws and political science. Exactly. So what we're saying from the IEBC Act, we see that the commissioners who have been appointed to this specific
so there's a lot of
position, they are really qualified to even just be where they are.
Now, when you come to back again, now let us tackle the realities. That is like that's what the law says.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, when you come from the face of us citizens viewing them, there's been that issue. Do you think that is unity within the committee? The commission itself, exactly.
I do not think there is unity within the commission, unfortunately.
Because I see like when the tender were given, or maybe when the first bunch of the papers came through, only a few commissioners knew about it, and that was displayed.
Which surprises me.
It was displayed in the media, and it was crazy.
It's out of this world. And I'm also wondering, is this commission independent as it should be?
Yeah, the Constitution talks about the elections.
Let's talk about the realities
held
now.
By
the Constitution says that.
Let's talk about the realities now. What we see
from a very legalese point of view.
Now let's
go to whatever is
realities,
happening.
What we see.
There's a lot of tussle when selecting these commissioners because the top guns have a stake.
Yeah.
They try and bring people who will try and favor them in the commission, because the commissioners are the ones who actually are responsible for the elections. We see a lot of push and pull. We've seen a lot of that, especially I think a month ago when they were interviewing the commissioners who are supposed to replace these ones whose tenure is ending. It washes away the issue of independence a lot. It does, and it makes election credibility really questionable. Yeah.
And also the other stuff you talked about, the perspective of those commission and everything. Now, for our viewers, now because of time, can we go to, before we go to the issues of offenses, can we talk about because a normal person, because they hear it every day in news, the issue of digital registration, the issue of manual register, what this stuff means to election? Because we can see the other side saying we want electronic backup. Others say they want manual. So for our listeners, and when you come to this election, what do you think? What are those terms first before we even discuss them?
So we have the integrated electoral management system kit. Whenever you're going to register as a voter, you have to put in your biometrics. Your photo has to be taken. We decided on your fingerprints, though I thought the eye pupil maybe would have been more accurate, but sometimes your pupil ages. But sasa,
you see a lot of stuff.
But now we have issues with I think we need both to complement each other. We have a lot of people who work hands-on. In some instances, your fingerprints might fade off. So if we totally rely
those from
on
Kitale, you just say hi to someone and their fingers and they feel like, wow. Some of them even have lost their finger, they can't even sense anymore.
So it brings issues because sometimes systems fail.
And that's the reality because they're made by humans, this system.
But now, unfortunately, I think the main reason some of us have an issue with manual and, the other way of election.
Are you supporting electronic registrar? That's what you're saying?
I'm saying the only reason why we have an issue with electronic
identification
is because we don't trust this system. Sometimes we feel like, yes, we're going to go the electronic way, but we have hackers. And some of us don't even understand how this electronic stuff happens. So we think we would rather go back to manual. But then again, I would want to say that whichever we use, it is all about the integrity of the people who are leading that place.
And for the integrity to be there, I think there need to be the use of manual. Because in last election, Kim's came here, everyone was excited about it. Then when the time they needed to work, they failed.
And that's
normal. It's normal to work in an office,
but
and
they failed at very. I think it's like crucial moment, and there was.
So
and
the
there
problem during that time, if I remember well,
asleep,
the problem with that time, if I remember well, I remember there was an issue of the fact that IEBC had not tested these kits before.
Yeah, prior to the election,
which is what they should have done, because then they just came with the kit, and now they wanted to use those kits
on the day of the election.
So I hope they learned their lesson in the sense that they are going to be trying them out. They are going to practice and see if they are working. Then it can be a smooth kind of thing.
Now look at it this way: we are trying the actual system.
Mm-hmm.
Is it tamper-proof? In the process of us trying to test the system, will people try and alter data?
Yeah,
will
that's
people
the
try
question.
And infiltrate and add numbers to their zones? Because Kenya, the electoral aspect comes to the voter identification. We do not vote electronically in the country. It's just the voter identification. So I think we need both systems to complement each other. Because if we decide to use manual alone, we remember in 2007 and 2013, you'd go to the polling station on Ambio, hey, you already voted. So you're like, how?
Yeah.
We need both systems to complement each other.
Yeah.
There are rules on how the complementarity will come in.
Yeah, and specifically we have the election technology regulation under the subsidiary regulations that we have.
Yes.
So as we said earlier, the laws in Kenya are really good in terms of ensuring that we have a good platform, and it's now also important for us to note that when we want to use this technology, we still have regulations that are supposed to be followed during this time.
Yeah, and it's not arbitrary, and someone is not supposed to do whatever they want, because I think it talks about the issue whereby if your fingerprints fail, they will try and use another
way to.
So by the time they resort to the manual register, all these other
have
parameters
been exhausted.
Been exhausted, and now your name will be ticked against the manual register, and you will be allowed to vote.
Thank you for that insight. Now, because we now want to talk about the issues of offences.
Yeah.
As we wrap this thing up, so.
We talk about the Election Offences Act. Exactly. And of course, as we know, we are human beings. And like animals, some of us, for some very weird reason that it's still yet to be understood, they choose to commit offences.
People take it emotional, and offences can happen.
It would be important for our listeners to understand which kind of offences, which kind of election offences do we have, and what does the law say about it, and why should you even not engage in such election offences. And unfortunately for our case, the youth are normally used.
They'll be used to do all this
misused. The right time is even misused.
Exactly.
Not used.
Not used.
Yeah, and we have the Election Offence Act that is really vocal on the type of offences that happen during that time. And just to outline the few is the bribery. Can
you take us through maybe the major two on your side that you really concerned with?
Yeah, I'd talk about bribery and things like forging the registration and the ballot paper, so to speak, because history has shown us that some of the people have gone out of their way to even try and forge ballot papers.
Indeed.
Why? And the reason
and this
why
was seen in the nominations, party it was like someone can
ballot stuffing,
and IBC was involved in that. They're the one who were doing that. This thing happening.
We don't want to mention names, but you just said IBC was like. people. But things like bribery, things like even forcing someone to go and vote in itself, that is an offense. Because remember, we said Article 38 is getting us on the political rights, and you have the right to go and vote, and you also have the right not to go and vote. Yeah. So if you decide you don't want to go and vote, there's this bad tradition that I really don't like of people waking up people on the day of elections using bells and whistles and in the morning. You're telling people get out of your house and go and vote. That is almost like forcing people to go and vote.
Their civic duty.
No, you waking me up is not exercising your civic duty.
Kenyans,
you go and
Kenyans
vote.
Forget so easily. Kenyans forget so easily. You need to know.
Kenyans. Not
5:30 in the morning. We have this.
That day of this thing happens sometimes really intentionally. An aspirant will just go buy, let's say, take some few youth, buy some zinga for them.
Or jerry cans of changa.
Yeah, you sleep. They sleep. Exactly, you oversleep.
And now that you said buying alcohol, we also have bribery. We literally have people who are coming to give you money when you're on the line of going to elect.
But they also bribe you through other ways, not even money alone.
The worst that happens, and I've seen it happening, is literally ukiwa kwa line. Someone is offering you money to vote for them. That is bribery of the highest.
Change your mind. Otherwise, when using ungas in the line, unaambiwa ukivote kuna bag, the way.
No. I am really against.
And most people do not know. First of all, on the election day, official campaign period closes, I think, 48 or 24 hours to the election. Exactly. To the date of the election. It's a very technical, to the date of the election. So you're not supposed to come to the polling station with any regalia of any candidate or
and
any
also
party.
Campaign.
That will be an offense.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to try and vote twice. It is very illegal to try and vote twice. Voting more than once is a very serious offense, and we have to keep in mind that if you're convicted of an electoral offense, you'll not be eligible to vote in the next election. So it's something very serious. We have things like undue influence, what Wanjiku has been saying. You're not supposed to use undue influence to convince someone to vote for you.
Or coercion for someone to vote. Sometimes it can be through bribery.
Or even just trying to force someone not to become a candidate.
Or someone to step down.
Trying to tell me not to be a governor. That's also undue influence in its way.
That's undue influence in its sense. We have the issue of ballot stuffing, which we've talked about. Selling of some of this data, selling of election materials. It's something that happens. I think it happens more in the remote areas, because I think a lot of emphasis is put on the urban areas. And huko mashinani, if you go there, you'll find the guy who's vying for MCA will come that day. He will come with 200 shilling legal tender notes, give women on the line. And the officers will look the other way. So
that's illegal.
Yeah, that's very illegal, irrespective of where you're going to vote. And someone might record you, and
that's bribery.
We are living in the era of technology.
In fact, if you end up winning for that position, you should actually now lose that position in itself. And now let's also not talk about the use of state organs in, perpetuating some of these violences. It is also very wrong for some of these people who are vying for these positions to use police officers, the military people and all that during this time to probably election. Even just scare people.
To avoid the tension in this stuff. Also because as we wrap up, you talk about those names, there's something which has been circulating on our media in Kenya nowadays. And the issue was that Chebukati came out and said that some of the commissioners are being, they're being profiled. But they're being profiled. So do you think that can amount to an offense? Because by profiling the IEBC committee, that means you are, can that really, what say do you have in that? An opinion on that, maybe? Profiling of the IEBC commissioners.
Well, now that's a sad situation, first of all.
Because,
in the sense
because how do you work when someone profiling you,
Yeah, you're unable to even discharge your duties. And I feel like the main reason why this is being done is for intimidation. It means that there's someone somewhere who wanted things going their own way and it did not happen. Because we also saw this with the High Court judges who nullified the elections. To date, they're still saying they're being profiled in a way.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, so of course that is also making it hard for them to dispense their duty. Yeah. And I feel like, of course, that should be crime in itself, because if this commission is the one that is supposed to bring about the free, fair elections, then how are they going to do it if they are having all these forces from all these other sides?
Nico, your point on that?
I think it's a double-edged sword. Mm-hmm. We have to keep these commissioners on toes.
Yeah,
we sure have to, because some of them come with other motives. We have to keep them on toes. We have to ensure that our data is protected under Article 31 of the Constitution and the data
privacy,
protection.
Very important,
the issue of access to information. Whenever you're going there, sometimes you'll go to the small again, then mkubwa alisema hapana. Yeah. The commissioners are the ones who make decisions on behalf of the IEBC, because the IEBC is a statutory body, it's a legal person. So the commissioners are like the directors. So we have to keep them on toes. But we are in no way supposed to threaten their lives, to profile them, to threaten their family. Let them work in the best conducive environment for us to achieve the best results.
Okay, in finishing up, there's an issue which we can't finish this episode talking about. There's some argument that some of the aspirants are giving out a forged document to run for office, and the main issue was the issue of Sakaja. So, in point, do you think forging of document to be in the ballot, and do you really? And also another question: do you really think we need, as we wrap up, education in leadership position? Wanjiku.
Okay, so first of all, my personal opinion is that you should be educated for you to lead the masses.
Yeah.
And there's the argument of which degree are we talking about and all that. I don't even care if you've done a degree in forestry. Because even if you've done a degree in forestry, at least you and climate change are, you're going to be guiding us very well. Yeah. And usually I say, every course that someone chooses to indulge in has its benefits
to the society.
Yeah, so we cannot now start saying you better have done engineering rather than doing, botany or such things. Yeah. And I believe sometimes going through the process of education, it instills in you some values that you cannot just get them from anywhere. Yeah. And I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes when you're even having conversations with people who have not chosen to take the path of education, you can always tell the difference. Even just when we are talking, you can tell this one, no.
Yeah.
So this one that you're saying no, when you're just simply talking about, maybe let's even say, I don't know, how the prices of unga has gone high. But the way this
and
person
people
is
just say it is handshake, it is Ruto, it is Raila.
And sometimes I blame the lack of having quality discussions because of lack of education. So I am wondering, if I am unable to have a conversation with my fellow colleague who chose not to continue with education for reasons best known to us, best known to them, because sometimes people don't have enough funds to go through the education system. Yeah. But all I am saying is, if I'm having an issue discussing just normal issues with a friend who is unlearned, then how are you going to tell me that you want to go in parliament and represent me? Because you're there working for me. When I'm electing you, you are working there for me. You're working for me who is choosing to take the education path because I understand the benefits of
education.
Why are you going to work and your education is questionable? And the fact that you're even forging your own certificates, to run for this election, that tells me that your integrity is questionable in its way. Then you're going to likely go and, steal and do all these things that are unintegral, simply because you didn't even have the guts to wake up and say, you know what, people, mi sijasoma. You'd better say, I have not done this education na MCA and nimequalify kukua MCA with hii masomo yangu kidogo, go be that MCA. So mimi, I say and I repeat it again, education is important in whichever aspect of life you are in.
Saniko, your point on that?
First of all, I will start with this common phrase people say that education is not intelligence. We have very many educated people who are not intelligent and not good managers. And now we look at it this way. In the 4 years in Rome, one of the earliest democracies, we had the Duma. We had the senators. These senators were people who had studied philosophy. There were students of people like Cicero, like Plato. That is where we derive this whole aspect of your leaders being educated from. Because you will have to discuss substantial matters. We're not saying that uneducated people cannot discuss substantial matters. We're saying that education sharpens you. It molds you in a certain way, especially in terms of discipline, in terms of your chain of thought. But now we have this issue whereby these guys are forging, most if not all of them did not actually go to university. But they have that degree. So I just urge the incoming regime to either crack the whip or do away with this thing, because there's no way Mythical Inturi has a law degree, but he does not know his classmates. No one has ever said they studied together. Wavinya Ndeti did their computer science degree in 10 months.
Also, Walter
we have
Mongari.
someone called Walter Mongari who lied to us that they graduated from Kenyatta University, and they did not. We have Johnson Sakaja, who has always told us he's a graduate of the university.
Even UN kept them on the alumni.
On the alumni list.
And now they had to remove them.
That's, for me, that is very weird that he was at the alumni list but was not a student. That tells me a lot.
It says a lot about
even
our
the
education
itself,
system and the universities themselves. So first of all, we need to offer substantive courses. We need
for sure.
We need to help the society. There's no need. My parting shot is that if we do not do it properly, then there is actually no need for having this debate on having a degree.
Okay. And I'll just give my sentiment on that and my opinion. My opinion will be like so simple. I'll start that one of the I really like Abraham Lincoln. He say, when you become a leader, because you make decision for other people, and like an office of the governor, you attract investors. You partner with companies. These are people who have gone to school. You make decisions. And this decision need to be rational. That's why you need education. And I will talk to that person over there, that young, because Nico will tell you, and you too, the stress we go through to get that degree, the amount of project work we have to do. The cards, that comes with it the exams. Right now, we have finished our 4 years, but we're still in the Kenya School of Law. That is the process we are going through. Imagine sacrificing 7 years to 6 years and someone getting a degree that you are looking for 6 years in 10 months. You can imagine. In 10 months. That's what really worries me, in 10 months. And it really beats logic, because as much as we need education, it's really an important figure that really plays an important role into leadership. Because the way you reason, because leave alone the cause you do, the way you reason, the way you do your stuff. Some people can reason more when you're going to school, because going to university doesn't grant you the wisdom that we really have. But I'm talking to that person who have gone through that process itself. It builds logic for someone to come and say that you don't need it to be there.
Another thing that I think we should just mention, just because you're educated does not mean now you're a good leader.
Exactly. Now that's it.
So yes, you have the papers. Just because you have the papers, now don't think that you should now come and talk about how good of a leader you are. So what we're saying, what I'm personally advocating for, if you know you're a leader, make sure you go to school and add some education on your profile.
Then also give an example. There was this lawyer, I don't know, Chibaba was saying that an example in a profession, sindio, when you're doing a conversing transaction, sindio, when you're not qualified, you cannot even act for that person. That transaction maybe can be costing it can be a 20 million transaction, but you cannot do that transaction because you're not qualified. You don't have practicing certificate.
Yeah.
That's not. But we are here allowing someone to go to the entire county government.
Yes.
To deal with billions, procurement, employment, decision making, and policies without an education, and yet we want to finyilia this person who want to do a 5 minute transaction. Maybe it's a car, just want to register a mortgage.
Yes, and I like what you're saying, right?
And will be taken to court. That is contempt.
Yeah,
but we want
sure.
to give someone 20 billion every year to manage it for us, for our children.
Yes, and I hear what you're saying. And another aspect of it, now we've spoken about the education aspect. Another important aspect in terms of leadership is emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Which I feel like most of the leaders that we have failed on it. We're seeing them on debates. You're being asked a very simple question and it agitates your emotion in ways that I cannot even understand. How then are you going to be a leader of mine? How then are you going to represent me in these boardrooms? And someone is bound to say things that are going to hurt you. And this is the thing, what we're saying, when you go to school, there are some skills that you learn. You know, the soft skills that you learn. You're able to work in a team. You know, sometimes it's easier for you to build relationships with people. You are able to identify some characteristics in someone, even just by sitting next to them. So yes, we're saying education. We're not telling you to go to school because of that paper. I'm personally telling people to go to school so that they can have these soft skills. Your emotional intelligence is at par with whatever it is that
teamwork.
Teamwork. Those small things.
And to finish up, one of my friends, you know, Lois Okiro Mongare, once said, and also Dr. David Ngira, sometimes we look at the effect of some stuff and we really forget. Because an example, like if a nurse doesn't take his classes so seriously.
Yes.
Sindio, it can inject that person and you can become paralyzed.
Yeah.
And that nurse will go to jail for life.
Yeah.
And we'll be shouting, oh, our schools. What about this effect that we don't see directly of a leader?
Yeah.
Let's say because of procurement, because of bad procurement, there's no electricity nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Because of bad policies, the town, you know, there's at the time we could not even go to town, you know, the town because of mugging and everything.
Yes.
And those are the small stuff that impact our life every day and we don't even see.
Yeah.
But we are ready to go, and this person a nurse who didn't take his class and maybe he's paralyzed, all the nurses will now look bad.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a leader who will make, because an example, NYS, there's not been the same again because of bad leadership.
True.
Yeah, NYS again. No one wants to go to NYS anymore. And that's the reality. No one wants to go there anymore.
Yeah.
An example of government, Kiambu, after Wanjiku went, this is information in the public agora.
Yeah.
We can see it has never recovered.
And it's going to take months to recover. And these people who are uneducated, remember, they are taking these positions and now they are good at stealing money.
Mismanagement. Because the issue of us even having a high unga prices in the country, it's not an issue of this because of COVID. These have been things I think which have been recurrent.
Yeah, and the decisions
from
that
2013.
people are making. You're choosing to borrow money for this. You're choosing to do this at these interest rates.
Because when look at the average from 2013, because the issue is not from 2013. We're now seeing the effect now because COVID have cracked everything.
Yeah.
And we're here. You want to blame. So that's our Nini. I think we can talk more about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Mr. Nico, thank you for finding your time. It's been a pleasure, Mazi, having you over here.
Thank you so much. The past 2 weeks we've been here.
Yeah.
15 days to the elections, or so 2 weeks to the elections. I just want to tell the youths to go out and vote. Vote for leaders with integrity. Vote for people who will give us a future.
Yeah.
Vote for that proper MCA and that proper governor, because those are the primary people who will determine whether you succeed or you do not succeed. Thank you so much, guys, for hosting me.
Wanjiku?
I am also going to say thank you guys for coming as well. I have appreciated this discussion, and I really hope that our listeners have learned something. And again, I'm going to encourage all those youth that are almost giving up because they feel like there's no reason for me voting. My vote does not count. But I'm here to tell you today that your vote counts. Whichever decision you choose to make on that day, it really will affect you. And governance does not end at just, you just attending the elections and making your vote. Be an activist in whatever area it is that you are in. Hold your leader accountable.
Yeah.
If you have an issue, ask. Do whatever it is you need to do to ensure that we as a country are governed well.
Yeah. So, I said on our listeners that this is Landlord Wanjiku. We had a very good discussion of the last 2 weeks on the election. And just take your time to listen, share it to your friends, because the key purpose of us over being here is to make sure we pass the information. And also we are trying to educate, because share the information, share these links to your friends, share this link to your parent, and let us keep the conversation alive and everything. Mr. Nico will be glad to welcome you back again in our episode along with Wanjiku. Yes. And so to our listeners, thank you a lot, and it's your boy Wycliffe. Thank you.
Music Podcasts, the home of podcasts in Kenya.